Hello my friends and welcome back. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day. We begin today with the Ukrainian soldiers of the 3rd Mechanized Battalion of the 67th Brigade, and they bring to us a nice surprise because those two soldiers, actually only two soldiers, managed to capture 6 Russian POWs. How is this possible? 2 soldiers capturing 6 Russian POWs sounds very much like a story from the Winter War, where one Finnish soldier literally equal to 10 deceased Soviet soldiers. That was the statistics of the losses of the Winter War. And I'm not only talking about this, we actually have a video about this. Now this happened in Oleksandrivska direction, and it's all filmed up by the Ukrainian recon drone. See, these 2 Ukrainian soldiers discovered a Russian, I wouldn't call it a foxhole because this goes deep underground. It's like a squad bunker frontline position, something like that. So they, usually before they start throwing in grenades into these foxholes, they yell in, "Come out now, you'll survive, yada yada, we're not gonna kill you." Usually Russians are not reacting or not coming out, and then they throw in a ton of grenades and open it up, strafe it with tons of magazines. But in this case, Russians decided to come out, and how many of them are there? 1 came out. Second one crawls out. Third one crawls out. But wait, there's more. 4th one crawls out of the hole. 5th one. No, that's the 6th one already. Forgive me, I even miscounted because there's so many of them. I can imagine, I mean, this is almost the whole Russian squad. They don't operate as squads or platoons at all. Russians operate differently. They send whoever they have to a meat assault. I mean, these are obviously meat assaulters, otherwise they wouldn't be in this one trench like that. Specific behaviors in the Russian army give you which unit they're from. There are like hierarchical units. Storm Z and meat assault units, the penal battalions as they call it, they operate in one way. VDV operates another way. Rosgvardia operates a different way. They all have different equipment. Being in a frontline hole like that, 6 at the time, gives you an idea that these guys are part of a meat assault. And there's 2 Ukrainian guys managed to dig out these 6 Russians from this one small hole. I mean, how? But I'm glad they did. This replenishes the exchange fund, and these Russians will be exchanged back to Russia for Ukrainian soldiers in Russian captivity. That's not the only video about this. There's another video of the follow-up of this, which shows, I've spoken about this in previous videos also, when Russians are captured, some of them, not all, but some of them instantly relay their coordinates to the superiors, who then order artillery missions on top of them, and this actually happened here also. So, they're walking now back across the fields, these very same Russians, in a row, and we can see the artillery starts to land, of course, really far away, so that means Russians do not have a recon drone up in the air. They only have these coordinates, otherwise they shouldn't miss this much, but they did. And they ordered this artillery mission on top of their own POWs captured by the Ukrainians. This is a regular procedure in the Russian army. They do that. As soon as somebody is captured, they try to shoot them up, hit them with MLRS or artillery or with drones to kill them, to not let them surrender. But these guys, they made it. They all made it. Now, my friends, let's take a brief look at the Russian Ministry of Defense transport aviation. I'm talking about AN-22. There's a specific transport plane, heavy military transport. Now, made by the Antonov company, which is, by the way, Ukrainian and still makes aircraft for the Ukrainian Air Force. But there's 3 Antonov 22s left in the Russian Ministry of Defense, these heavy transports. And they're very old. Very, very, very old. They're, what do you call it? The service life or operational life is all but it's so over for decades. But they never switched them out because there's nothing to replace them with. They just keep flying them. So what happened yesterday, 9th of December? One of them crashed with 7 Russian servicemen on board. This specific AN-22 was part of the 196th Military Transport Aviation Regiment of the Russian Air Force. That's a mouthful. One of the only 3 that are still in active service. It crashed into the Uvotskoye reservoir near the western Russian city of Ivanovo. This is what the beauty looks like, and it keeps happening in Russia. Almost monthly I see some plane crashing or some aviation accident. I mean, about a week ago, actually it was a few days ago, we saw fighter bomber, the Russian aviation telegram, reported about an accident of 2 pilots ejecting accidentally out, but the plane was in a hangar. So they ejected to the ceiling, splashing the ceiling red. 2 splashes up in the ceiling, no more pilots. How does this happen? And this is an accident on the ground, but like this specific AN-22 accident, planes keep falling out of the skies since Russia is really bad at repairing their tech. Alright, you don't repair a Jeep, you don't repair a Bukhanka or a, Chinese electric buggy. It breaks down. So what? If you don't repair a plane, be it a MiG, an Su, Antonov or Ilyushin, it doesn't matter which one, they start flying out of the sky and there will be casualties. All of these 7 crew members, they died. Now let's look at the reactions in Russian local telegrams when they heard this explosion. Let's see how people reacted. A plane crashed in the Ivanovo region. The reports have not been confirmed. Apparently it was a military plane. So, a lot of people mind blown, sad, horrified. 2 people hearted this. 2 people thinking about this, and 2 people put up this moon face. That's the general Russian reaction. Then we also have champagne reaction, and it's super weird what Russians react, how they react in their Telegram channels. Sometimes you get hundreds of these moon reactions. Super strange. Hey, but it's the Russians, man. Don't try to understand them. People treat this like a one-off accident. It is not. And I've been saying this and reporting about this ever since I started reporting on the war. It happened from the first day and it's still happening. When you mix Soviet airframes, sanctions, corruption in procurement and wartime tempo, the entire fleet turns into a slow motion self-sanctioning program. Oh, I couldn't have put it any better. These jokes, they write themselves because Russian aviation has caused the biggest losses to the Russian aviation. They just keep falling out of the sky. Russia is burning through its own strategic assets faster than any enemy could hope to. True. Crazy, but true. By the way, that's not it. If we talk about Russian planes falling out of the sky or accidents happen to them, recently in Sudan, Russian Ilyushin 76 military airport crashed during landing, killing the entire crew. Now, this is not the one that was shot down 1 month ago, because if you remember, if you didn't know about it, in Sudan, November 5th, Ilyushin 76 was actually shot down. And there's a video about it, look at that. Shot down. And the Sudanese soldiers, wherever they belong to, I mean, there's so many different militarized groups there, they are playing around with the wreckage later and salvaging it, whatever they can find. This is a Russian Ilyushin 76 taken out of the sky. Now, fast forward 1 month, this happened yesterday. Not shot down, but crashed during landing because of a technical malfunction. So yeah, you can shoot them down, okay, but you can never cause so many losses to the Russian aviation than the Russian aviation itself. They don't maintain their planes. That's enough for losses to be monthly. They lose planes monthly because of technical malfunctions, red-on-red friendly fire, or there's so many reasons. But now, my friends, I would have never guessed I report anything like this. It's insane. You watch this video, oh, another drone video of another tank, spare me the details, I've seen these 1,000,000 times. But no, my friends, this video comes from Thailand. And this tank is near the border of Thailand and Cambodia. Because these 2 nations, right now for the 3rd day, are at war with each other. Despite the Trump's ceasefire and peace plan of July 2025, they just broke out with war again 3 days ago, eliminating the entire process of peace, and all of the treaties went out the window. You see this tank with the drone near the Thai-Cambodian border. This is a Thailand tank, but it's a T-84 OPLOT. It's a Ukrainian tank. See, Ukrainians exported 49 of these tanks to the Royal Thai Army. They started in 2011 and the last tank was delivered completely by 2018. Thailand is the only country Ukraine has exported these tanks to. This is one of the first battle appearance of this tank outside of Ukraine. They made appearance also in July when Trump ran to put out that fire he did, but now it's burning again. The war is going on again. Up to 500,000 people near the border areas of Thailand and Cambodia have been relocated. Well, things are going on there. The main point being that this is a Ukrainian tank being used in an active war zone in Asia. How weird is that? I'm sure Ukraine would love to buy them back now, but Thailand is not selling because they need them, as you can see. These tanks firing, I mean, this is war going on with Ukrainian weapons in Asia. What the hell, I would have never guessed I'm reporting on this. The Royal Thai Army has already deployed this Ukrainian-made T-84 OPLOT T main battle tanks in combat against the Cambodian forces in July 2025, during heightened tensions, marking the tank's first major combat use under Thai command. Thailand has 49 units of this kind. Now it's based on the Soviet T-80 chassis, which the Ukrainians renewed or redeveloped into T-84 and then sold it to Thailand. Talking about the weapons that Ukrainians are making, I mean, FP, Firepoint, the legendary Ukrainian drone manufacturer, released this video of them making the Flamingo missile. It is beautiful, it looks cinematic, looks like Hollywood, and the way these machines are making these missiles, I mean, you don't think about Ukraine that has about 12-14 hours of power outages per day. They're at war, they have these factories making such high-tech missiles. Here they're making, you could see the wings, fixed wings. This is a Flamingo, of course, but if you can see the wings, these are Firepoint 2 looted drones that make most of the long-range strikes. But when I'm talking about Flamingo, of course, I would like to segue you into a very drinkable Flamingo. Here we go. My friends, after Ukraine wins the war, most things can be rebuilt, but there are things that are gone forever. Let me guide you through a piece of Ukraine's history that is now lost. Hidden 236 feet beneath the ancient ground of Bakhmut hides a secret, the world's deepest wine cellar. This was the birthplace of art wine, crafted using techniques passed down through generations. Art wine is not just a sparkling wine, it's a rare piece of history. On 24th of February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, and for a whole year, brave Ukrainian troops defended Bakhmut in the bloodiest battles of the entire war. But in March 2023, Prigozhin with his Wagner group entered the city. The home of art wine fell into the hands of the invaders. Wagner forces did not hide their presence. You can see the officer not believing his eyes. What a treasure they just stumbled upon. Art wine sparkling wine ages for years, and throughout that process, classical music was playing. To the amazement of the occupiers, it was still playing by the time they set their foot into those cellars. You can hear it for yourself. Listen. Not long after that, the leader of the Wagner group, Prigozhin himself, strolls around the cellars admiring the riches of the Ukrainian culture. Prigozhin, in the midst of stealing the bottles, decided to mock the Ukrainian women on Women's Day and wrote a greeting on one of the boxes while his crew was loading the sparkling wine to be taken away. It seemed as if this piece of Ukraine was lost. But it was not so. Just before the city fell, the bravest of men, risking their lives, smuggled out some bottles and they were sent to the US. These last bottles from the cellars of Bakhmut carry the bravery and resilience of the Ukrainian troops who defended the city, some to the very end. Today, in 2025, Ukraine is holding, innovating, creating their own missiles and hitting Russia back. This innovation shows in the Flamingo missile, pink, like the Brut Rosé sparkling wine from Art Wine. While the Flamingo destroys Russian oil refineries, these last Art Wine bottles wait for someone who cherishes their story. This is you. You have seen the suffering and resilience of Ukrainian people, so it is only right that you get the chance to own this piece of Ukrainian history, the last of its kind, a sparkling wine that will never exist again. I am working together with Art Wine to get you these last bottles, and only you can get the Rehi Flamingo Special Edition. There is even a flamingo sticker on the bottle for you. There is no better gift than this Flamingo sparkling wine. With it, you gift a piece of Ukrainian history and resolve. If you are looking for a meaning in a gift, well, here it is. This is the gift to someone you love. Get these very last bottles from Bakhmut at shop.artwine.com/products/flamingo. For now, these bottles cannot leave the safety of the United States, so only US orders are accepted. A once-in-a-lifetime chance to own or gift a piece of history that will never be made again. Slava Ukraini, my friends. But now, my friends, I would like to bring to you a Ukrainian female soldier who opens up, talks about her experience in war, and would like to open up to the Americans specifically to try to explain why Ukrainians fight so ferociously. Because sometimes, yes, I see it also, it might be difficult for Americans to understand why they're fighting, because from America you might not understand the basis of this war. Trump definitely doesn't understand it. He never has. It's not about why don't you just give some small peninsula like Crimea or Donbass and Luhansk. You still have Ukraine. You still have majority of the land. It doesn't work like that with the Russians. It's about survival. There is no other option. It is victory or death for the Ukrainians. And I will let this girl speak. You know, I think war brings out the best and worst in people. And it also shows the best and worst kinds of people. And it was the war of 2014 and the full-scale war that showed us probably the best DNA of Ukraine that exists. These are young men and young women who went without any doubts in the battle and are fighting for the country. I believe this simply changed our society in the sense that it revealed that such people exist at all. It is truly inspiring. When I often even talk with Americans, there is a bit of a lack of understanding of the word nation. For them, a nation is basically all immigrants in a certain generation. That's why it's difficult for them to understand how you can give yourself your life and go fight for your country, for some nation, for a language. They also don't have their own language, right? Europeans understand this concept a little better, but it is truly inspiring when someone says, I am part of something greater, I am ready to give my youth for it, to give my health. That is incredibly cool. I was absolutely certain this was the place I wanted to be. And when in my family, my country, the greatest historic event, possibly the greatest in my entire existence. And for many, many recent years, I felt every Ukrainian must be here. It's a clear desire and understanding that I have to be part of this fight. And being there, here, of course, it outweighed everything. I knew what I wanted and that I would be happier here than happier than I was there. When the full-scale invasion began, when horror is ongoing in your country, in your family, I can't personally live a happy life and drink cocktails in Manhattan And, well, I couldn't be truly happy. For me personally, the hardest moments where I lost my closest friends. Morally, that's the hardest part. And when you go to war, when you survive everything at war, you usually find your family, your people, your closest friends. They replace absolutely everything in your life. And so every time someone from that family leaves, it's incredibly hard. Yeah, I've spoken about this many times also. I mean, that is a bit different from the topic of the Americans I was just talking about, and they know this definitely because Americans part of their war effort in Afghanistan, Iraq, and every conflict the army or Marines are present, they get you ready for the combat. They prepare you physically and mentally for the toughness of bullets flying and no sleep and stress, but they don't prepare you, and they cannot prepare you for the loss of your friends. If you are in that battle situation and bullets are flying and there is an incredible amount of stress and no sleep, you are trained to handle that as an American Marine. But what they cannot ever train you is that you will lose the guy next to you that you developed a close bond to and your friends now for years because of the Marine Corps training, and you go there, you're deployed, first deployment together, these bonds, and he gets killed right next to you. Nobody can prepare you for that. And that is the daily life of the Ukrainians. You will learn everything. You can learn to be a good soldier, a good drone pilot, but you cannot learn how to lose your friends and how to lose your family. And this is maybe sometimes difficult to understand. People who are not in war, also in Western Europe or perhaps in America, I'm not generalizing all of Americans, I'm generalizing perhaps people who don't have this perspective. They live their peaceful lives and figure out how to pay their mortgage, but no missiles are taking away their daughters and sons, no missiles are taking away their closest friends. This is the perspective. If you get this, no mortgage stress is big enough to stress you out anymore. So yeah, I haven't lost anybody close to me in a war zone, so I don't know what it feels like. I can only understand it theoretically. But this girl has lost her friends, and almost every Ukrainian has lost someone close to them because of Russia. So there is no question why you're fighting, why you don't want to stop the killing, like Trump says, let's stop the killing. You cannot have this attitude towards this war to stop the killing. It's not about that. It is about the survival of the Ukrainian nation. So you cannot talk about let's stop the killing, let's stop the war. You have to talk about let's help Ukrainians survive this genocide. It's a very different wording. It's a very different idea. And it requires a very different attitude than what Trump is doing right now. Segueing into yesterday, there was a massive power outage. How the Ukrainians are surviving this, they are having half a day, even more, of no power at all in almost all of the Ukrainian cities. Half a day. It used to be a few hours, now it's half a day and more every day. No electricity, you live in the darkness. If you get the power, you charge every lamp you have, every battery you have. And this doggy is holding this lamp for this woman who is trying to make dinner for herself and probably the dog also. Well, I'm talking about this. Yesterday, I was supposed to have an interview in a Ukrainian television channel. It was at a certain clock, and when the time arrived, nobody contacted me. So I called the producer, and they said that they couldn't even contact me because they had a massive missile attack and a power outage. So yeah, I'm here thinking, okay, maybe they forgot or what happened. Of course, there's a power outage. They cannot do their television broadcast because there's no electricity and the generators were also not working in the telecommunication building. So yeah, this is the daily life of Ukrainians. Can you imagine, like you have kids maybe, you have grandkids perhaps, you go home, you have to make dinner for them without electricity. You have to buy the gas heated stove. If you have a headlamp, put it on top of your dog to light it up. I mean, just to give the perspective. Let's try to imagine to live like that. This is, of course, the video comes from Dnipro, but all across Ukraine, there are power outages daily. Now these topics are very serious, so I gotta bring you some funny, because it is hump day after all. We gotta end it with a good feeling, you know. This is I picked 2 frames from recent FPV strikes against the occupiers, and one of the frames I noticed this occupier was wearing flip-flops. So yeah, this is the Russian army in the 21st century. The Russian GDP, what, $2.2 trillion, something like that. But this is what their army goes to war with. Of course, not everybody, but the lowest of the units, the Russian military hierarchy, penal battalions, crippled battalions, and the Storm Z, the lowest of the pyramid. These guys you can find sometimes in these sleepers and stolen clothes, which they find in the Ukrainian houses and stuff like that. So yeah, just wanted to share that photo with you. Talking about the, you know, Storm Z or crippled battalions, you might think, oh, why is he saying crippled battalions? Because there literally are battalions made out of Russian soldiers who got wounded, but not dead. So they forced them to go back. And there are videos of Russian soldiers with crutches, on wheelchairs, without arm or without a leg, just being sent to soak up the Ukrainian ammunition. They're just there to use up the Ukrainian explosives with their bodies. That's all they're there for. And Russian army deliberately uses them for such purposes. For example, this was another frame, and the guy with crutches meets with an FPV. His only goal in the Russian army is to meet with this FPV drone and eliminate it with his body. And Russians, of course, don't evacuate their soldiers. They don't care about the bodies. And connected to this topic, I want to show you a Ukrainian evacuation, because when somebody dies in the front, it's quite difficult and time-consuming to get their body out. But this is what the Ukrainians do. They have a special evacuations for this. Early morning, near the Pokrovsk area, by the way, one ATV comes to a certain location, another ATV also, and they're here to pick up a Ukrainian fallen comrade, his body. They're not leaving. Of course, they exchange some goods, logistics they need to. It all happens really fast. But there's also a fallen Ukrainian soldier that they load up. Of course, more important is water, bullets, and equipment, and logistics. But they don't forget this fallen soldier. They retrieve the bodies. This really tells you about a culture, about society, about the people and how they treat themselves even after death. In Russian army, there is no value in human life and in human personality. But you have no value as yourself. In the Ukrainian army, even after you die, your body will be brought back from the front line, so your relatives can hold a proper burial. And if you have lost people, you know how important it is to have that proper burial for you mentally, to have that disclosure of loss of a friend or a family member. You need that disclosure, that ceremony to say goodbye. And this is why they're working so hard to get this fallen soldier out. Yeah, the difference, big difference in Russian and Ukrainian army. The Ukrainian army retrieves their fallen soldiers. And the final video I'm gonna show to you today is so confusing. It's a red on red, so Russians shooting other Russians. Always nice to watch that. Everybody likes to watch that. This one though is very confusing. So I'll read you the translations and try to explain what happens, although it gets quite weird sometimes. We are now walking just now. The guy shot himself. So there's a guy here who supposedly unalived himself, or not, or he was shot, who knows. Whether it's a sabotage or recon group, someone is shouting, and we just carry this stuff around. Let's go closer. We need at least to get the mannequin. Tell the lads that this is... The main thing is that it's not the DRG shooting. So, okay, nothing happened yet. Let me get... Come on, hurry up. So somebody shouted at him and he says, "Свои, да, we're yours. We're like homies. We're Russians." And they opened fire. It doesn't show that, but these guys who were shouting, he's like, yeah, we're Russian. They still opened fire on him. My own people nearly shot me dead just now. My God. In short, Sina ran away. Sina was behind him. They mistook me for that one who had shot himself. So, there's a Russian guy in the woods. Whatever he does, perhaps, he unalives himself for some reason. There is a group of Russians near him who hear that, and they thought it's a Ukrainian sabotage group. So they set up some positions near the guy who unalived himself. Now there's this guy, possibly a Russian camel soldier, the lowest of the low, the logistical troop, carrying some stuff between units. Now the guys who are searching, where's the Ukrainian recon sabotage group who shot that soldier that actually unalived himself, finds this camel troop. This camel troop says, hey, I'm yours, I'm a friendly. And they open up fire on him because they're really itching to find some Ukrainian recon sabotage group. And they almost shoot him. Then they put him face down to the mud, take his weapon and aim at him, looking at his documents. Finally, they let him go, but they take his weapon, and this guy's really pissed at it. And you know what happens when you lose your weapon like that, or somebody takes it? I mean, this guy's screwed. He's screwed. He's already at the camel troop level. There's nowhere to fall anymore. But it's a very difficult or confusing red on red situation. It happens a lot. Happens a lot in the Russian army. And with that, my friends, I will end the Hump Day edition of the video. I will be back for you on Friday and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you like my videos, subscribe to the channel. And until my next one, Slava Ukraini and bye-bye.